This experience is best with headphones.
This is a program in partnership with Open and Clear Broadcasting. For more information and additional programs, visit us at openandclear.com. For any questions you would like us to focus on, comments about the show, inquiry about advertising with us, or just want someone to talk to, please visit us there at openandclear.com.
Good morning, this is Devin Byrne, and you're tuning into I Am a Course in Miracles. I am here with my co-host, Atreyu Daxton Byrne. We would literally be attempting to teach a baby a course in miracles. If you would like more information, behind-the-scenes footage, or information on a discounted one-on-one session with me, please visit our website, www.iamacim.com. Now let's go ahead and get started on this mind training program, A Course in Miracles, and my book, Speak Only When Spoken Through.
Hello, welcome to Day 1, Lesson 1 of A Course in Miracles, and Speak Only When Spoken Through. Today, National Read Across America Day is because it's Dr. Seuss's birthday, including my birthday. Yeah. You say hi, bud. So I'm here with Atreyu, and we really should be reading some Dr. Seuss today, bud. Okay, so Lesson 1 starts off with Speak Only When Spoken Through is willingness. Today, we open our minds to a possibility with the lack of thinking involved. Spirit, I know I seek a better way of life, so I am open to thinking differently for my personal growth, improvement, and understanding. I am ready. I am willing. Thank you. Lesson 1. Nothing I see in this room means anything. Now look slowly around you and practice applying this idea very specifically to whatever you see. This light does not mean anything. This camera does not mean anything. These fish do not mean anything. This baby does not mean anything. Getting stuck under the chair does not mean anything. Hey, bud. Here, want some help? So, bud, Daddy does not mean anything. So the purpose of these lessons, these first lessons, is an undoing of what you've trained your mind to believe, even in this moment from the very beginning of your ego consciousness existence, which started roughly around conception and wasn't actually defined until around 3 or 4 of your age. And it defined all these ideas around about what is the shape of and what is the use of and why and how and all. We developed the world around us. Okay, then look further from your immediate area and apply the idea to a wider range. That window does not mean anything. That picture does not mean anything. That cabinet does not mean anything. That puppet does not mean anything. That bush, tree thing does not mean anything. Notice that these statements are not arranged in any order. and make no allowance for differences in any kind of thinking which they are applied. That is the purpose of the exercises. The statement is merely applied to anything you see. As you practice applying the idea for the day, use it totally indiscriminately. Do not attempt to apply it to everything you see, for these exercises should not become ritualistic. Only be sure that nothing you see is specifically excluded. One thing is like another as far as the application of the idea is concerned. Each of the first 3 sessions or lessons should not be done more than twice a day, preferably morning and evening, nor should they be attempted for more than a minute or so, unless that entails a sense of hurry. A comfortable sense of leisure is essential. So Atreyu, what would you say if I told you, what if that truck doesn't mean anything? He gives me these really crazy eyebrows. Atreyu doesn't mean anything. It's pretty intense. The fact that I can look at life, I can look at the world around me, and I believe everything has its somehow place and has its meaning. Like that table has a purpose, has its function. So we want to attempt to relieve ourselves from these ideas. We want to attempt to bring ourselves away from the fact that we know what everything is for, as if we need to be taught again, as if we need to be taught for the first time, right, bud? That this world, even though we do know what it is, we want to attempt to not know what it is, simply so that we can experience it on a greater scale, that we can experience what the world is to what a conscious being is. We can experience it not just to our sense of little self and little definitions, as if we were nothing. We were born into this world nothing, and we learned these ideas that we were small and pathetic, and that we had to learn about this world, and that we want to undo these, and ultimately, eventually, hopefully learn to realize the perception of what is the truth about all existence, what is the truth about God in what we are perceiving in reality, what we are perceiving, what we think is in these physical forms around us. The attempts to undo our minds, our belief systems, so that we can then see and experience first-hand relationship with God in this moment and in every moment, that when I am looking about in the world, I'm not looking at a separate world from me. I'm not looking at a world that is separate from God. I'm not looking at personalities that are separate from God. I am quite literally, and that's the purpose of the undoing, is that we're going to unscrew our minds, and we're going to bring back the whole experience to undoing what we thought it was, and start receiving an idea that this world can be developed. The purpose can be given to these objects. The purpose can be shown about what we are doing from the great power of whom the Son of God is, and seeing the true essence of what life could be if it was all working for you, if it was all here to make you happy, if it was all here to work in your favor. And as it always has been, yet you and I have been attempting to make this world a recreation of what we believed about ourselves when we were small, when we were little, and we developed this world that we, could get hurt. And and then we have justification in our daily life that it is true, we can get hurt. Yet this is still a manifestation of the creation directly from the belief system that we could. We want to now undo these belief systems. We want to undo the idea that we can get hurt and start accepting the idea that we are infinite, that we are boundless, that we are unstoppable, that we, quite literally, are not a body, and we can't be hurt, we can't be harmed. And some would even say, well, the body can, and that this meat suit can, and it does seem like that is true, absolutely. But really, the meat suit is just a derivative of the experience of what is the soul. And the soul is just a derivative experience of what is the consciousness of Christ. And the consciousness of Christ is just a derivative of the experience of God, the eternal, the completion and always an essence of existence that can't be explained, that can't be palpable, that's untouchable. Now, as we are here as the Son of God in that experience, we're looking back at God, literally, and we are seeing the entirety of what would be everything if God was everything. And God being non-judgmental, totally impartial of the existence of whatever we are desiring to see, is the manifestation from everything from your existence and beyond. Quite literally, the body of yourself, the mind of yourself, the soul of yourself, and the table and the chairs and everything around you, and the energy flowing all around you, and the existence of the universe, the entire world, your neighborhood, your house, all of it is quite literally what we have, a projection, a definition, a judgment in the shape and form of what is God, if God was represented or existed as something. And this being the third dimension of reality is literally the third perspective of perceiving that same object, which is God. So the singularity before the Big Bang and before the existence of the universe, before said God, let there be light, is the experience of light is quite literally a reflection of what is God. And in that experience of, developing and creating his Son is that direct reflection of what is God. That is the first dimension. And then the second is the soul that the Son of God developed in the creation of the world as a spirit world and a dream that is conducive to what is God. And the helpful idea of complete love, the giving and receiving of love. However, in that idea of giving and receiving of that same experience of love, is then we had to have someone that was something or a percentage of people, or even we're speaking souls here, as if there's a scale from 0 to 100% of who has the amount of love and what is a representation of the love, so that the highest one being represented by Jesus and the lowest one being represented by Satan, is this idea that love needs to be given most to the one that doesn't have it and is received by the one that doesn't have it. This is the knowledge of good and evil. And this started this idea of a war in heaven, with the knowledge of good and evil taken by Adam and Eve being the beginning of physicality, in which before that was it, bodies didn't even exist. The knowledge of good and evil is quite literally the representation of what you know as love into the physical body. What became the projection instead of the extension of the love of God into the dream of happy dream, it now became a projection outside of itself, seemingly separate from its existence, as if now God can look upon his own self and itself can be hiding from it and saying, I have done something wrong. And the only way and the only reason for that to be possible, which is completely conducive, I mean, it's accepted by God, the only way to have free will, the only way to have the seeming idea of free will, and not realizing that it is always and constantly God making a choice through you, because you are a creation of God in this idea of soul, and you know this. You know the experience of your soul and the whole flowing of the existence of what is the spirit world, and the light and sound of the energy world. So in that experience, in order to know free will, and that which is the fourth dimension, you need to have a choice that which the creator of your existence has, that says, don't do that. And this is a representation, is represented by the knowledge of good and evil, by the choice of the fruit being in the Garden of Eden. The partaking of the fruit was quite literally the acceptance of free will, the acceptance of that I now can be doing something that seems separate from the idea of God. However, these are all perceptions and perspectives and dimensions of the existence of God. The existence of God, even in this physical body, will appear in this third dimension, will appear to the third dimensional perspective to have a body, just like in the second dimension it appeared to have a soul. In the first and the zeroth dimension, it appeared to be the unexpanded, undefined, endless, omniscient, omnipresent existence that can't be defined. So now we are here in time, perceiving the physical reality with this knowledge of good and evil. And it is quite literally, and I say that often, but I literally mean the definition of your reality, the definition of your physical world is based off of knowledge of good and evil. So you have this chair, knowledge of chair, and then you have outside of this chair, knowledge of no chair. Knowledge of good and evil, knowledge of love, and no love, the absence of love. So the existence of your world, your dream being physical, is based off of this. So I have a body, the knowledge of a body, and the knowledge of not body, and then the knowledge of someone else's body. You having a good time, bud? You okay? Yeah? So really, even as I look at Atreyu, I am not looking at someone outside of myself. Are you chewing on something? Here, here's a binky. There you go, bud. Are you sleeping? You want to sit up here with me? Yeah, okay. But we sit still up here, okay? So this life and everything about it, there's nothing wrong with the dream. And we gotta make that clear, because many people read through the text and hear what it's saying and then imply that somehow this idea of Christ, Jesus, is condoning guilt. So he's actually saying that there's a wrong about the dream. And this is not true. We are literally obsessed with this knowledge that we have of good and evil, and we don't even recognize it. We don't even realize that we apply it to everything. That we hear someone say, oh yeah, you shouldn't be in the stream and you should get out of it. We actually think we're doing something negative. That, oh, now I'm doing something wrong and I need to stop it and get out of it. Well, you can. You can, and in this moment you are aware of the experience that is outside of the dream. However, you are defining it and projecting upon it the experience of what is physicality. What is the seemingly idea that you are going to die? And this life that we are going through is that coming to that point. And in my death experiences, I had the complete realization and complete understanding in the experience, which seemed temporal, the idea of what is outside of the dream. I went into the soul world, the spirit world, and then I went beyond that into the consciousness of Christ, and beyond that to the acceptance of existence of what was the singularity, going back to the idea, literally, of the Big Bang of the universe. In this experience is what you can do. You can do this yourself, and you will. And in fact, you are doing it right now. The whole idea that I did it in some point in time was just simply an ego idea that needed to confine it to a point in time. Oh, bud, oh, he's got a stinky diaper now. Oh. Oh man, we gave him some fruit the other day. Oh jeez, I think. Oh, but stinky stink. Ooh. Woohoo! That's okay. Caught me off guard. Okay. Whoa, man, we get into a lot of good stuff here, and hopefully we have an opportunity to do this every single day. Many people are coming from their life learning A Course in Miracles, and even as I did doing this show previously, in this experience of death that occurred to me was my whole life flashing before my eyes in great detail, every sensation I remembered and recalled, as if I could feel it on me now. Everything that touched me, everything I touched, and even into birth and conception. The first idea after conception that I had in the understanding of this world was being pulled out of the womb by my chest, being pulled out of the womb by C-section because I was breached, and the idea of being really cold. And they actually even say about vaginal birth gives the body a pressure enough that generates the circulation in the blood a little differently, so that the warmth, it actually establishes more of a warmth. And this you don't get when you are pulled out C-section. And this happened to me. Anyway, so I was trying to be, as my mom says, I was trying to be born from the very beginning, doing things differently, doing things upside down. And I completely agree with that, actually. I mean, I still to this day, doing this, and I have a lot of things about me. If you were to meet me in person, that I am a unique person, even as course teacher as I am, is like now, as I went through reflecting back into the experience of conception and before life, and the whole spirit world, the essence of myself, and reviewing contracts and the story of what I came here to do in the first place, I literally came out of that experience with the same excitement, if not greater, the same excitement of living this life as I had before I was born. And I didn't want to get out of the dream anymore. I mean, often what the whole purpose of getting to that place, I was like, I want to get out of this dream. I want to find God. I want to come back into the spirit world or stuff like that. It's like I want to retract. I want to retract from the experience of, instead of progression or purification of this idea. So the idea of separation, the purpose of this is that we're purifying the idea of separation. We're mind training into the experience of separation being a divine reflection, almost conducive, at least 99%, to the singularity of the first experience of God. So while we are here in the third dimension, we have quite a few more steps to go, and this training process is through eons and eons and eons of existence, and the coming to the new eon of existence of the fifth dimension is quite literally what we are training our minds to do in this moment. The joy is so phenomenal and so palpable. As they say, you can cut it with a knife. There is no, here, bud. So in my experience of that so-called death experience, the joy that I felt was so phenomenal. That word does not even come close. I remember as a child being so happy with my family, having fun, joking around, playing games, whatever it might be. And probably the happiest day of my life, even being married the first time and all this stuff, just feeling that joy. None of that, no happiness in this world comes remotely close to the experience of joy that you felt before you were born. When you were born, this pain and suffering, this opposition idea that naturally came with the entirety of the whole thing, you're just coping with it as you're continuing with life. You're coping with the idea that you are death, that you are going to die, and that you feel it aching on your being constantly. There you go, bud. Yeah. We'll change your diaper in a little bit, okay? Okay. So, are you aware? Are you aware of what is pain? What is suffering? Do you have something about your body, about yourself, that you do feel pain? Because you will make up some sort of story, some sort of idea that you do feel this pain. You do feel, and you have a reason to be suffering. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't exist in this world. It's literally holding back the existence of the spirit world. Now, can I look at this pain and can I say it doesn't mean anything? Can I look at this body, can I look at these feet and say they don't mean anything? Can I look at and really feel that experience of that pain that I am seemingly suffering from, and say that suffering does not mean anything? Because I know from my personal experience that many of us, if not all of us, considering you're a projection of my mind, you will be established in the same rules in which I have applied to myself. This idea of the body, you are establishing as your reality, and this idea of pain and suffering, you are establishing as your reality as well. So as we want to get out of this experience and we want to retract our mind from the complete belief of limitation, that this body that we are in has limits, and that therefore my soul has limits, and therefore my consciousness has limits of where it can go. And this being a prison, quite literally a prison a spirit prison, a conscious prison of our existence? Do I want to retract the idea that it is so real in me, that it is such an idea that I must play a part? I have no choice, that I need to do this. So in my death experience, the idea, which I was later told the reason why, but I had to, when I decided to come back, I had to have a resentment. I had to choose at least one resentment. I chose two at the time. And that literally shot myself back, because how I got there was complete forgiveness of every experience and acceptance of everyone in the entirety of the universe, and what that universe looked like to me in that time, and the people around and everyone I was with. And it started by a meditation, and that I was getting to that position. So from there I had to accept a resentment. I had to accept a judgment in order to return instantly. Everything ended literally in the blink of an eye, and I snapped back into my body, and I just got up, and while I had that, I still had the joy. I still had that for several weeks, but it was of course not nearly as extensive, not nearly as amazing as the idea was, as the sensation and the feeling and the experience was while it was in the idea of pre-existence of this world. So you, bud, you remember the soul still, huh? You remember the experience of love and the experience of energy. But, I mean, you're learning what this body is, right? You're learning how to talk, you're learning how to walk, you're learning all this good stuff. This is what we came here to learn. We want the idea, and we developed this whole experience ourselves. We wanted to accept the idea that what could be the absence or the away from love. What could be the idea of absence of knowledge of God, knowledge of true existence, so that then we could have that range of experience, opposed to just love and just the giving and receiving of love, literally being one thing to another thing, one thing to another thing. So the idea of developing a multitude of beings in the existence as we know as physical bodies, instead of just the 12 rays of souls, the experience of what you are as a body is a multitude of what is the experience of those same 12 rays in the spirit world, of the existence of, 2/3 staying back, quite literally meaning the idea of the war in heaven needed to be divided in order to, the idea of heaven being in your mind, heaven being in this mindset, needed the idea of a resentment, a judgment, in order to know the existence of physicality. So that brings you back to the purpose of lesson 1 and the continuing lessons here, is that if you want to retract your belief in the physicality and you want to experience and know who you are, the first-hand experience of God, if you want to know that, not just in a belief, not just in a theory, if you want to feel it even as I did, if you want to know it even as I did, you need to retract every belief that you have, that physicality is your reality, that you are based off of this physicality. And even if you came here to learn and grow in this body, it's true, but not in the sense that you experience your experience for the further future. All of the future will be like this body is the misunderstanding of what a body is for. So the body right now, as you are learning to exist within a body and exist without in a body, this experience is bringing us to training our minds to go outside of the prison instead of being confined to the prison. That's the difference. And there's nothing wrong with being confined to the prison. We can accept this, and I have no doubt that you're going to do it again and again and again until you do completely retract the idea that you are confined to a body. And it's quite a beautiful thing, really. So what do you want to do? What's your goal with the Course in Miracles? Some people, including myself before I was looking at it, was, wow, do I want to walk on water? Do I want to, I don't know, raise the dead, travel through time? It's pretty intense. Pretty intense. So, now after the lesson and communicating and talking about the lesson, we go back into Speak Only When Spoken Through, and these are a few quotes that have been given to me, including a questioning arena. Those aren't the best words to describe it, but is there anything you still wish to do? You are free to do it all. Then continue your journey to God, as if He didn't do it all with you already. Literally. The Course is coming to the realization that God is with you always. And not just a belief, not just an idea, but literally looking at that chair and seeing God. Looking at that person and seeing God. And everything they're speaking is the words of God. And you're the experience of with God. And you're going through the training of your projected mind on the experience of God that He's showing you. Everything you want. Everything you want to do and be. Even while it may still have meaning to you, there is a place in your mind occupied by each meaning you carry with you. We want to let them go, clean our minds, and trust that all the loving ones will remain. As I look at my sleeping baby with his poopy diaper laying here in my arms, I think the most common question that I received before was, what about my life with my kids, my family? I wouldn't want to leave the dream just because of that, and this being one of the resentments, judgments, ideas that I accepted again in my return to the world from that death experience. I remembered my entire future. I remembered Atreyu, Trina, things to come. Now that I'm here, I'm back into the first-hand experience. But it was an idea of what would my family be doing without me? How would they feel? And my retracting would be taking away the experience for them. Speaking from past relevance is not speaking from truth. Truth will be relevant because it is all that is. The past only seems relevant because of your obsessed with it and insisting making the present out of it. reason we are accepting this idea, not necessarily believing it or not, that this chair doesn't mean anything, this house doesn't mean anything, all these things don't mean anything, is because the idea that they are shaped from is past ideas, past beliefs, past understandings that we made up, and are continuing the continuity of, instead of having the option of going to alternate universes, alternate existences, alternate dimensions. It is a dream, and you're holding yourself to these physical laws by your own making. If you realize that they are your own making, you can start experiencing it as a dream. Be the dreamer. Be lucid. The laws are not applied to you as they are not applied to them. You are applying them. You are deciding them, making them up to limit your experience. You can limit your experience all you want. You can continue to limit it, or you can stop. It's up to you. Up to you. Am I willing to realize there is no meaning to anything if I did not put it there? Whoa. That in itself an object means nothing. Almost as if we're dividing the object from our minds to realize that you can clean your identity of judgment or of knowing the objects. Could it actually be nothing? If I didn't know what it was, would I see something there? Just see where your mind goes with these questions, with this experience, and you're learning to tune into the spirit, your inner teacher, and knowing what is being taught in every experience of your life. What is it that makes objects the respected object? What is it that makes this pen a pen if it's not really there, nor means anything? I ask these questions to you because these are the type of questions that I ask to experience, one, the energy of the existence, the Holy Spirit of the existence that connects everything. Two, being the consciousness that derives and thinks of these objects to become then energy, to become then physical body. What is it that shapes them? The knowledge of pen, the knowledge of no pen, the knowledge of cup, and the knowledge of no cup. Is it in my own mind? Is it in my own mind? Is it in my consciousness? Is my consciousness developed from the experience of these objects? Oh, man. Nothing I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place, means anything. That picture does not mean anything. That light does not mean anything. This hand does not mean anything. Oh man, I can feel. These eyes do not mean anything. This nose does not mean anything. These thoughts do not mean anything. This perception does not mean anything. This being lesson 1 in the mind training program to, again, experience God walking in the garden with us. It's your first-hand experience. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me and Atreyu. Tomorrow, lesson 2. Lesson 2. I have given everything I see in this room all the meaning it has for me. Have a beautiful day, my friends, for today is the day. Today is the day that we experience God. Today is the day that we open our minds to a complete new possibility of existence. Beautiful. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. I hope you enjoyed today's program, and if you would like to join us on additional programs, donate to show your support, or you have any questions, please subscribe to our podcast and visit us at www.openandclear.com. And again, have a beautiful day.